So let's talk about what tools are available for us as parents as we start trying to figure out how are we going to have these conversations with our children, right? How are we going to present this to them, bring them in to our decision making, and be united as a family? What we don't want to do is isolate ourselves as, we don't want to isolate ourselves from the conversation, isolate them from the conversation, and not be a team. You remember a minute ago I said we're helping them navigate a world that we never lived in. And so I think it's important that we're talking to our students on a regular basis, really trying to understand, hey, tell me about what that conversation was like with your friend when you were texting. Let's talk about the situations that you're in. And here's the great thing about technology is that you can generally take a technological situation with friends and you can parallel it with a not online situation with us, right? Because human nature is human nature. Being polite is being polite. So you can have those conversations with your students even though you may not have had that exact same experience. Does that make sense? Okay. So Josh Oakes is someone who has visited our district a few times, who has some really great resources. And if you're not familiar with Josh Oakes, you can go to his website, smartsocial.com, and they have complete guides and videos for you that you can watch. So he is someone that I highly recommend if you've not made yourself familiar with his resources. He is a great person to check out. He also goes in and has just guides for you that you can use. And one of the guides that I put up here, because if you don't know this, this is a great resource. When iOS 12 came out, we're already on iOS 13 beyond. But when iOS 12 came out, they included what's called the screen time in the app, in the settings. How many of you have used the screen time feature with your kids? It's great. So I suggest that. There's comparable apps for Android as well. There's nothing better than being able to lock your child's device when you want to ensure that they are having the maximum experience that they need to have face-to-face with someone, right? Or sometimes it's like, we're just not going to do phones after 7:30 because we're committed as a family that we're going to go to bed and we're going to give ourselves a break from the phone, after this point. So it gives you some options as well. What I love also about it is because it tells you how much time your students are spending online, and it gives you a detailed report. So I started using this on myself, and so every Sunday morning, it tells me, hey, your screen time use was up 35% this week. And I'm like, oh, And so I set goals for myself so that I can try to bring it down. It was up a little bit over Christmas. I don't know about your screen time, but mine was up just a little bit more. But this is a great way to also sort of keep yourself in check. Part of bringing our students along is us also being committed to the same things that we're asking of them and being good examples. So if you don't want your kids using devices at dinner, we shouldn't use devices at dinner. Or come up with a routine or a schedule of when you guys are all committed to using it and when you're not going to commit it. Great family conversation. Loop them in, because I'll tell you, my kids will tell me when I'm not upholding our family rules on that. And so I have to make sure that I do as well. So there are downtime settings. You can set limits on apps. You can always allow certain apps. So if there's an app that they always need to have access to, like Quizlet, maybe you want to always allow Quizlet just in case your child wants to do flashcards at any moment. You can always allow Quizlet. There's also content privacy restrictions. So you can have control over what apps are downloaded on on the phone as well. That's always good to know. Going back to what we said earlier about being aware of privacy policies in apps, take some time and look over, like, hey, how old does my child have to be before I use this app? What type of content is going to be on this app? What is their privacy policy? Are they going to sell my child's data? You'll want to look at that. You can block multiplayer games, things that you feel like they don't need to have access to, location services, those type of things, advertising. So it just gives you a lot of options. So the other thing that I like on his site is there are descriptions of the different apps. So there's different zones. So you can go onto his site and click on the app review, and he has it broken down by zones, and it will tell you what zone that app is in. So if you find an app that is dangerous, so that right side is dangerous, that kind of yellowish, then you're going to want to read why. And that will give you some insight so that you don't have to do quite as much homework. They've kind of done the homework for you. So Common Sense Media is another wonderful resource. My kids will come to me and say, hey, we want to go see a movie tonight. Can we go see such and such? And I would say, they would say, will you look it up on Common Sense Media and tell me if we can go see it? Because they have at the top left for parents. You can click on that. It has movie reviews, it has app reviews, it has book reviews, and it will give you sort of a breakdown of information about that movie, about that book, or about that app. So for the movies, it will break it down and tell you, hey, it will discuss these social issues. Here's some talking points that you can have with your child. So it gives you some talking points so that you can facilitate conversation. This is also, you can see the For Educators tab. This is what we use also to deliver our curriculum on being safe online with our students. So it goes over cyberbullying, it goes over texting, all of the different facets of being a digital user. It talks about that. So there's actually a curriculum, and we have all of our elementary schools and Mountain Brook Junior High are all certified Common Sense Media schools. So we received that certification last year along with our district certification. So this is the curriculum that we use in Mountain Brook as well. And you can go look at all those lesson plans. They're all there under educators. So here's an example of if you go in as a parent, as an app review, it will tell you, hey, what age group is this sort of targeted for? And then you can click continue reading, and it will give you a breakdown about that app. And then if you go to the Parent's Ultimate Guide, then it will break down websites as well. So Fortnite is on there. If you want to know more about Fortnite, it will give you a guide. TikTok, Snapchat, all those sound familiar?